Thank you for checking out crypto.chartguys.com, the source for technical analysis in the cryptocurrency world. We are proud to announce our own crypto alert system designed to give you the most critical technical trading information possible no matter where you are. Keep your eyes on the market with mobile or email alerts for MACD crosses, RSI levels, and even inside bar alerts for dozens of coins across multiple exchanges. New features and proprietary ChartGuys indicators are already in development. Our alert system is very easy to customize and utilize, so don't hesitate to sign up for the most effective crypto trading tool on the market at crypto.chartguys.com. Hey everyone, hope you're having a good weekend. We're going to look at Bitcoin Ethereum Litecoin, and we'll also look at ETH BTC chart, and I'll point out what I look for in terms of when I'm looking at an individual name of who I want to play out of the big three. Some things that stand out to me that determine one over the other. As we've been switching back and forth between Litecoin and Ethereum over the past couple of weeks, it's been dependent on which one has been stronger relative to Bitcoin, as that is the granddaddy that all correlations derive from at this point in this market. So looking at Bitcoin on the daily time frame, I look at this chart and say, that looks like the top of our bounce. We have a bounce off the low. We have not established a higher low. And I just want to talk about that first, because a lot of people say, well, look at this consolidation we had on the way up. What do you mean we don't have a higher low? When I'm talking about a higher low, I'm talking about a move completely independent from the original move. So this move off the bottom, this bounce is one move, and I call that one move because the 4-hour time frame is higher lows and higher highs the entire time. The bulls were in control the entire move on this bounce from the low to the potential top of the bounce. Then I need consolidation to lose the daily higher low pattern. Every single day the bounce has been a higher low. If we lose that daily higher low, that means we start to lose the 4-hour higher low pattern, and then we consolidate and have to form a higher low on the daily time frame, establishing a new level of support, and then a higher high to change the trend. That would follow through with the bullish MACD. And you can see right now where we are is a great comparison of where we were on the last significant bounce attempt. We had the all-out dump. We had a 4-day bounce. You can see it had multiple inside bars, a bull break. We rejected from exponential resistance. We pulled back. We lost the momentum from the original bounce. We lost the 4-hour higher low pattern back there, and we formed a higher low on the daily. Now, from this point, had the bulls turned around and seen a higher high, that would have been very significant for the bulls changing this trend. Obviously, they did not. They formed another lower high and then a lower low, and we broke bearish. But this was the higher low forming. This is the initial move, the consolidation after the exponential rejection, a higher low, and then a lower low. So here is our top of the move, rejecting from exponential resistance, and I'm not going to call it the top of the move yet. I'll point out why, because the 4-hour time frame does still have higher lows intact. But if we reject from here and pull back, and then lose that 4-hour higher low pattern, we're going to be looking for the potential of a higher low to form comparative to 5,873. We have a lot of space to the downside, $2,400 before we encounter that support. So the odds of forming that level are very likely, forming that higher low. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to change the trend. That means we're going to form a higher low, and this exact same thing could happen. We could see another lower high and then lower low again. So again, changing the trend, it's going to take a long time to play out, and we're not going to be sure of the strength and the follow through unless we get that higher low and higher high. So the odds of forming a higher low are very likely. The odds of seeing continuation to a higher high are less likely, because that opens up two scenarios where we could just see the same situation they had back here. So it's nice to have this perfect little previous history to be looking at and say, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. That is the same thing that happened, and it ended up bearish, and that could absolutely happen again. But if it doesn't, and we notice a bit more bullish action, then we could follow through. So some of the more bullish action that I've already noticed is the volume. The volume would favor the bulls being at a climax down at the low, and you can see comparative to the last bull move, it's not even in the same league. And obviously some of that has to do with, the price being so much cheaper, but not to that degree. It does not cover that discrepancy. So let's look at this 4-hour time frame. So every time I come in, I look at the daily chart, I say, that looks like our temporary top. We have a bearish reversal candlestick, and we are pulling back. But then I look at the 4-hour time frame looking for more details. This chart's just fine for the bulls still at this point. And we've got a higher low pattern, and that higher low pattern is remaining intact, anything above 7,750. So if we pull back here, right now the low is 8,155. We could pull back to 7,900. and we could be looking for the bulls to form a higher low anywhere in this range. So we're still consolidating, and we're looking for that higher low to form. In my opinion, to change this trend and to see that daily consolidation, we are going to see a 4-hour higher low, and then in order to change the trend, the bears would have to see a lower high and a lower low, which would also translate into a bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern with our left shoulder, the head, and then wherever we start bouncing, if we see a lower high, that's our right shoulder, and then if we break the higher low pattern, that's confirming the bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern. So I am anticipating a higher low on the 4-hour time frame. It's the same exact scenario on the daily time frame in the sense that once that higher low has formed, it could go either way. We could see continuation and a higher high, or we could set a lower high and a lower low and then change that trend. So these are all things that I'm looking for, and the more one scenario or the other begins to develop with indicators giving some clues like volume and such, then the odds begin to shift on what's the more likely scenario pattern in terms of playing out. So as of right now, the trend is still intact for the bulls. Yesterday, I did the video, and it was after 3 green candlesticks, and I said keep an eye out for 4-hour consolidation, and we ended up seeing some further upside. But it got to the point last night where it was a very easy setup, and I posted overnight at about 11 at night on the Eastern here, actually right near the top, and I said, you know, if I were in a position right now in the big three, I would put my stop loss below the higher low pattern. As soon as the higher low pattern breaks, I would want to be out of this trade because I know the 4-hour time frame is due to consolidate. We've seen 5 green candles in a row. We're a bit extended, and we would be looking. The point being, if I stop myself out on the hourly higher low being lost, even if the bulls do turn things around and see continuation that night, we know 4-hour consolidation is happening sooner rather than later. So unless there's news behind it, the price isn't going to run away without me if, you know, I'm exiting on the 5th green 4-hour candlestick. So if you exited on the loss of the higher low pattern on this time frame, it would be all the way up right here at that support of 8,796. It was higher lows and higher highs until that level broke. And then from there, look at the back test of previous support, now resistance, rejecting, and then the lower highs and lower lows started. So losing that uptrend of higher lows on the hourly time frame let us know that 4-hour consolidation was beginning, which we could anticipate would happen sooner rather than later because of how much upside we saw in a row. This move was extended, the hourly RSI hitting up over 70 for the first time in a while. And look at the hourly RSI on this bounce. It touched 70 and pulled back, and then at the top last night, that was the highest it's been, but it's definitely been rejecting from 70 on the hourly time frame multiple times on this bounce. And the last time that the RSI on the hourly, there's another rejection, the last time it was over 70, clearly for any little period of time, was all the way back when the price was in the $16,000 range. So keep that in mind. This hourly chart still has not gotten above 70 convincingly in quite some time. So that's another reason that we could have been looking for a temporary top to be set. So where we stand right now, we are consolidating with hourly lower highs and lower lows. Once we start to form some hourly higher lows and higher highs, which will start with the 15-minute time frame forming some higher lows and higher highs, we'll then be confident that our 4-hour higher low has been established. And then from there, I would be looking for the bulls to make a move. Let's say with this setup right now, because of the magnitude of the pullback from the top, and the amount of space that we have because of the size of the bull move, I would say, let's say if we formed our higher low right now at 8,155, and I'm not confident in that because, again, the 15-minute time frame is still a lower high, lower low pattern. But let's just say that that were the case, I would anticipate the bulls to make a move up towards 8,800 or so, and then begin to slow down. And then we're going to see that lower high, and either the bulls make their way to continuation or that lower high and lower low. So the point being, because of the magnitude of this bull move and the matching size of this pullback, the odds that we go right from this pullback to a higher high, as we have done multiple times on this move, are not as likely because it requires such a significant recovery. So 8,155, and we'd have to see a $900 move to see continuation to a higher high, where back here, well, it was about a $900 move here as well. So it happened previously. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm just saying more likely than not, we're not likely to set the 4-hour higher low and go straight to a higher high into the $9,000 range. So those are all things that I'm anticipating, and you can tell from me going in depth in this video, one thing I'm not doing is saying I'm not trying to predict anything. I'm not trying to say this bounce is going to continue or that we're going to lose the 4-hour higher low pattern. So I'm waiting, and every day I get more information. Every hour I get more information in terms of the most likely scenario and what is going to play out. So the way it stands right now, I would look at this daily chart and say, okay, just judging by the previous bounces and the rejection from the exponential resistance and the shape of the candlestick forming, more likely than not, we could lose the 4-hour higher low, and this could be the high of the bounce from here. And then we see that consolidation where we need that daily higher low. So I'm not ruling that out. That does look a little bit more likely to me than not right now. But the 4-hour time frame still being in the uptrend keeps that sentiment at bay in me. So I look at that and say, that looks like our top's in. And then I look at this information and I add that to the big picture and I say, okay, well, I'm going to keep it at a 50-50 right now because we could very easily form this higher low in the 4-hour and still remain bullish. So checking how we compare on all these other names, daily chart for Ethereum, again, the bounce straight from the lows. We have not established a higher low at this point. This is the previous higher low that I would be looking for. The bounce, the 4-day bounce, the pullback, the higher low established, and we did get the higher high here, but of course the correlation to Bitcoin threw that off, ruined that trade setup, and that's why correlations are so important. So it's going to have to happen on Bitcoin for us to be confident on these individual names as well, because it has happened in the past and been completely wiped out. So here we're performing the bearish reversal candlestick, rejecting from exponential resistance. The 4-hour time frame, the pattern is still intact for the bulls. Last support was down here at 780, and right now we're at 815, so a $35 window here that we can pull back and still form a higher low. This is very notable volume. Look at the 4-hour volume on this leg to the upside that we saw. That's very significant. So that alone, if I saw that clearly on Bitcoin, which I don't, that would tell me Bitcoin's very likely to form a higher low and remain bullish at least until tomorrow on this 4-hour time frame. So because we don't have that volume on Bitcoin, it's not as convincing, but it is very notable on both Ethereum and Litecoin. And of course, this is for Coinbase and GDAX, but certainly seeing high volume across the exchanges. So same thing, 4-hour higher low looking to form sooner rather than later. If we break 780, that will be a clear bear break, and the daily chart will then have us looking for that higher low after a couple of days of a pullback, just like we saw back here previously in this period of a bounce attempt. So zooming in the 15-minute time frame, still lower highs and lower lows. So we're not confident that this consolidation is coming to an end just yet. Hourly chart is clear, lower highs and lower lows. And looking back at the previous consolidation that occurred, that gave us our last 4-hour higher low, we had some hourly lower highs and lower lows, but we did build a base of support. And we're not really building a base of support just yet. So it is possible that we are turning things around as we are seeing hourly bullish reversal candlesticks, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. We will have to see higher lows and higher highs on the hourly as well, and that will have to play out into tonight for us to be confident that our 4-hour higher low has been established. Litecoin, higher low on the daily time frame, lower high still unable to break the daily lower high pattern by about $5.50. So still struggling in this pattern, still tight, higher low, lower high. And if we pull back, anything above 104 will be another daily higher low. Potential volume climax signaling the top of this move of the bounce. We got the 4-hour time frame. Again, big bull volume. Anything above 142.15 is a higher low on this 4-hour time frame, and the bulls are trying to pull that off before breaking this pattern. Hourly chart, clear lower highs and lower lows. 15-minute, clear lower highs and lower lows still in play. Have to turn this around to be looking for our 4-hour higher low to be established. Once we break this 15-minute pattern and start forming 15-minute higher lows and higher highs, we could make an entry and say, okay, I'm looking for this to be the 4-hour higher low. I'm going to put my stop loss below the low of this consolidation, and that's not a very high-risk trade in terms of the amount you would lose before getting stopped out if that was not the 4-hour higher low that we are looking for. So that's where we stand on the big three. I know I just talked a lot and it makes perfect sense in my brain, but let me know if that makes any sense to you all out there. I know all the talk of higher low and lower high can get a little monotonous if you're not watching and engaged in the screen as well. And ETH-BTC. So this is a chart that I look at and I say, okay, this tells me that Ethereum versus Bitcoin, meaning they're correlated and who do I play? This tells me that over the past, this is the daily chart, the past few months, it's clearly favoring the Ethereum bulls because we've been in a very solid bullish uptrend and we've consolidated, formed a higher low, higher high, got overextended. Here's another higher low attempting to form, and we're getting tight to the point that I need to start pay attention to this chart again. Look at the 4-hour time frame with our low, high, higher low, lower high, higher low, tightening range right now. And I'm watching to see if we break this level of 995, then we will look for the Bitcoin bulls to be in favor, and we'll look for a higher low compared to 9.6. If the bulls see a break of this recent high of 1015, then I will look to play ETH on any signals that I like on Bitcoin. So if I see a bullish signal on Bitcoin, I get into ETH if this chart makes a bull break. And then comparatively, I look at LTC BTC chart and say, okay, who's in the lead here? And I actually want to make sure I'm on the exchange that I'm using here, Coinbase. And I look at this 4-hour chart and I can say, okay, the bulls did hit a 4-hour higher high here as well, and we're in a higher low pattern. So this tells me that comparative to Bitcoin, I do want to be looking at either Litecoin or Ethereum. And right now, Litecoin's in a clear 4-hour higher low pattern, so I would choose Litecoin. But if Ethereum does break that pattern that I just highlighted, if it breaks that pattern bullish, then that would make me want to play Ethereum, but it looks closer to a bear break where we stand right now. So that's something that I do fairly often when I'm wondering, okay, who has the momentum right now? Sometimes it's very obvious and I don't even need to look at this chart. I can just see the comparative setup on the individual names and see that one name is stronger than Bitcoin. But anytime it's not very clear, I look at these charts and see who's in an uptrend, who's in a tight range, and watch for a clear break. And that tells me which name that I want to be playing. So I hope you have a good rest of your weekend, and I hope you continue to do good things. We're going to be checking in tomorrow as well, and we'll see if this 4-hour higher low pattern can hold. That's basically what we're all watching. Can the bulls form another 4-hour higher low? The odds are yes, they will, and it's just whether we form lower high, lower low, and then look for the daily consolidation, or lower high, higher low, higher high, and an equilibrium pattern playing out on the 4-hour time frame. We'll check in before that 4-hour equilibrium pattern breaks. If it is going to be forming, that'll probably form up all through tomorrow. Fun stuff. See you soon.